screamed at him that something was wrong. The usual chatter of the council was absent. Instead, cold silence greeted the human delegation. They took their assigned seats in the lower ring. 70 years ago, humanity had been welcomed into the Galactic Council with celebration. Today felt different. Today felt like a trial. The Veldran Prime Speaker rose from the central platform. His form was tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. When he spoke, his voice filled the chamber without need for amplification. We gather for an emergency session. Resolution 8847 Omega is now before the Council. Hewan leaned toward Hyunwoo. We received no advance notice of this resolution. Row. Hewan-woo nodded slightly. That violation of protocol was intentional. They wanted humanity unprepared. The Prime Speaker continued. Humanity has been a council member for only 70 years. In that brief time, they have established 17 colony worlds. Their military fleet has grown by 300%. Their expansion rate exceeds all historical norms. Their weapons development suggests aggressive intentions. Guy 1 stood up. That is completely false. Our expansion is well within. Her microphone died. No sound came from her position. She tapped the device. Confused. Hyun-woo rose next. We demand the right to defend ourselves against these accusations. His microphone was also dead. Around the chamber, he could see other delegates turning away, refusing to meet his eyes. This was planned. This was coordinated. Tommen worked frantically at his datapad, trying to access the council network. His screens flashed red. Access denied. Their files were being deleted in real time. Every piece of evidence they had prepared, every document showing humanity's peaceful record was vanishing from the system. The Prime Speaker smiled. It was not a kind expression. The Council has reviewed all evidence. Humanity's rapid militarization poses a threat to galactic stability. Therefore, Resolution 847, Omega calls for the immediate suspension of humanity's voting rights and expulsion from all council committees and protected trade routes. You cannot do this, Juan said, standing. Her voice carried without the microphone, trained from years of public speaking. We have committed no crime. We have broken no law. The council decides what threatens the council, the Prime Speaker replied. We call for an immediate vote. Hyun-woo watched the voting display light up. Green for yes, red for no, yellow for abstention. The board flooded with green almost instantly. 847 civilizations voted yes. Only 12 voted no. 43 abstained. Humanity was alone. The resolution passes, the Prime Speaker declared. Earth's delegation is hereby expelled. You have 1 hour to leave this station. Your ships will be stripped of Council recognition codes. Your colonies are no longer under Council protection. Your trade agreements are void. Security drones descended from the ceiling, hovering around the human delegation. Not threatening yet, but ready. Hi. Juan stepped forward, and this time her voice rang with cold fury. You make a mistake today. You believe that silencing us makes us weak. You believe that isolation will break us? You are wrong. You have 59 minutes, the Prime Speaker said, turning away. The humans were escorted from the chamber. Other delegates watched them go. Some looked ashamed. Most looked indifferent. A few looked satisfied. In the corridor outside, Hyun-woo finally spoke. They planned this for months, maybe years. Why? Ji-won asked. We have done nothing to threaten them. We exist, Tommen said quietly, still working his datapad as they walked. That is threat enough. We are young, growing, innovative. They are old, stagnant, afraid. Their ships waited in the docking bay. 5 vessels, small compared to the massive council cruisers around them. The crews were already aboard, engines warming. As they boarded the lead ship, Hewan turned back to look at the station one last time. This will not stand. Earth will not accept this. What can we do? Jisuan asked. We are 400 light-years from home. We have no allies here. The entire galaxy just voted against us. Hyun-woo moved to the command console. We survive, we adapt, we prepare. The ships detached from the station and began moving away. Tommen was still working, his fingers flying across multiple screens. Suddenly, he froze. Captain, I intercepted something. A fragment of encrypted Veldran communication. It took their security a few seconds to realize our access had not been fully cut. What did you find? Hyun-woo asked. Tommen's face was pale. A message from the Prime Speaker, To the Veldran fleet commanders. It says, Phase 1 complete. Proceed with planetary embargo protocols. Annexation timeline moved to 6 months. The bridge went silent. They are not just expelling us, Huan said slowly. They are preparing to take our worlds. Hyunwoo looked out at the stars streaming past. Behind them, the massive council station grew smaller. Ahead lay the long journey home, and after that, a fight for survival. Get me a secure channel to Earth Defense Command, he said. Priority Alpha. Tell them we are coming home and we are bringing a war with us. G moved to the communication station. What do we tell people? The colonies will panic when they hear what happened. Tell them the truth, Hyunwoo said. Tell them the council eliminated our voice. Tell them we are going to make them regret it. The ships jumped to faster than light speed, leaving council space behind. In the chamber they had left, the delegates were already moving to other business. They had forgotten about humanity. That was their first mistake. They would not forget again. Number. The council eliminated humanity's voice. The response ruined the stars. 6 months had passed since the expulsion. Earth looked different now. The blue and green planet that had always seemed peaceful now bristled with defenses. Orbital platforms surrounded it like a crown of thorns. New shipyards floated in the dark, working day and night. Admiral Young-sik stood on the bridge of the battleship Indomitable, watching construction crews weld hull plates onto another destroyer. He was 60 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had commanded fleets for 30 years, but never in wartime. That was about to change. Admiral, the delegation has returned from Taejon Station, his communications officer reported. They report the same as the others. The colony is holding, but barely. Food supplies are running low. Medicine is critically short. Young-sik nodded grimly. All 17 human colonies were suffering. The council embargo was thorough. Trade ships that had once freely traveled human space now turned away. Stations that had welcomed human merchants now closed their docks. Even the few aliens who wanted to trade were threatened by council sanctions. Humanity was being strangled slowly. A message alert flashed on his screen. Emergency meeting, Earth Defense Headquarters. The conference room was crowded. Military commanders, government officials, scientists, and engineers filled every seat. Hyun-woo was there, now promoted to strategic coordinator. Haiwan sat beside him, looking older than she had 6 months ago. The stress was wearing on everyone. Let us begin, said the Secretary General. Admiral Young. Status report. Young-sik stood. We have 43 capital ships operational, with another 20 under construction. 200 smaller vessels patrol our space, but we are spread thin. 17 colonies across 12 star systems. If the Veldran come in force, we cannot defend everything. Then we prioritize, said Colonel Sangho. He was a stocky man with a scarred face, commander of Earth's Special Operations Forces. We evacuate the outer colonies, consolidate our population. That is surrender, said Huan sharply. Those colonies are home to millions of people. We do not abandon them. Better alive on Earth than dead in space, Sango replied. Before the argument could escalate, a new voice spoke. What if we did not need to choose? Everyone turned. Dr. Mira stood at the back of the room. She was young, barely 30, with short black hair and glasses that reflected the room's lights. She was also one of the most brilliant scientists humanity had ever produced. Explain, the Secretary General said. Mara walked to the front and activated the holo display. A ship appeared, unlike any human vessel before. It was sleek, angular, covered in strange geometric patterns. This is Project Breakthrough, Mira said. For the past 70 years, while we were members of the Council, we were observing, learning. The Council kept their best technology secret, but we could see the results. Their ships move faster than ours. Their weapons hit harder. Their shields last longer. We know this. Young said that is why we are building more ships. Quantity over quality. No, Mara said. We reverse engineered it. We did not copy their technology. We improved it. The room went silent. Mara smiled. The Council believes faster than light travel requires massive engines and exotic matter. They are half right, but they missed something. A fundamental principle of quantum mechanics that they dismissed as impossible. We proved them wrong. This ship can cross the distance from Earth to our furthest colony in 3 days. It takes Council ships 2 weeks to travel that same distance. Young-sik leaned forward. That is impossible. We have been trying to improve FTL drives for decades with minimal success. We were trying to copy them, said another voice. Engineer Dawn entered from a side door carrying a datapad. She was Mira's colleague, specializing in weapons and ship design. Copying does not work. Innovation works. The Council has been using the same technology for 300 years. They stopped innovating. They stopped taking risks. We did not. Dawn brought up new images, weapons, shields, sensor arrays, all completely different from standard human designs. We took everything we learned from the Council and threw out the parts that did not make sense. We started over. We asked, what if the Council is wrong? What if there are better ways? Hyun-woo stood up. How long until these ships are operational? The prototype flies next week, Mara said. Full production could begin in 3 months. We have 12 shipyards ready to build them. The Secretary General looked at Young-sik. Admiral, your assessment won. Young-sik stared at the hollow display. If this was real, if it worked, everything changed. If we can move faster than Council ships, we have an advantage. We can defend all our colonies. We can strike and retreat before they respond. We can survive. We can do more than survive, Colonel Sangho said quietly. Everyone looked at him. If our ships are faster, if our weapons are better, if we have technology they do not expect, we can win. Tam Min, who had been sitting silently, spoke up. We may need to win. My intelligence network has been monitoring Council communications. The Veldran are moving ships into position near our borders. 3 full fleets, maybe more. They are not hiding it anymore. When? Hai asked. Soon. Weeks. Maybe a month. The Secretary General stood. Then we have no time to waste. Dr. Mira, Engineer Dowan, you have unlimited resources. Build those ships. Admiral Young-sik, prepare the fleet. Colonel Sangho, I want intelligence on every ship position. Coordinator Hyun-woo, you will lead a new directive. Classified. Name it whatever you want. Hyun-woo nodded. The silent directive. If we cannot have a voice in the Council, we will make them listen another way. The meeting ended. People rushed to their assignments. Earth had been defensive, reactive, accepting the Council's judgment. That was over. 3 weeks later, 3 Council scout ships entered the Indian colony system. They were mapping human defenses, preparing for the invasion. They broadcast demands for surrender on all frequencies. They received no response. Humanity had nothing to say to them. The scout ships moved deeper into the system. They detected nothing on their sensors. No ships, no defenses. Nothing but the colony world itself. Then the darkness around them tore apart. 3 human vessels appeared from nowhere, sleek and fast, moving in perfect coordination. The Council ships tried to run. They were not fast enough. In 17 seconds, all 3 Council ships were destroyed. The human vessels vanished again, leaving nothing but debris on Earth. Admiral Young-sik received the combat report. He read it twice, then called Hyun-woo, the breakthrough ship's work. He said, better than we hoped. Good, Hyun-woo replied. Because according to Sangho's intelligence, the main fleet just left their staging area. They are coming. 150 ships. They will be here in 2 weeks. Young-sik smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Let them come. We are ready. He issued a command that went to every human ship, every colony, every defense station. No more warnings. No more diplomacy. They wanted silence. Let us show them what silence sounds like. Number. The Council eliminated humanity's voice. The response ruined the stars. Commander Bo-Ra floated in zero gravity, watching her console screens glow in the darkness. Her ship had no name, only a designation, Shadow 7. It had no lights except instrument panels. Its hull absorbed sensor beams, instead of reflecting them to the outside universe. Her ship did not exist. She was 15 light-years inside Council space, mapping a military supply depot. Nobody knew she was there. Target scan complete, her sensor officer whispered. In the silence of the stealth ship, everyone whispered. 43 vessels docked. All supply transports, no military escorts. Bora marked the location in her database. In the past month, her small fleet of stealth ships had mapped 73 Council installations, weapons, factories, fuel depots, communication relays, shipyards. Every target, carefully catalogued. Waiting. Return to human space. She ordered silent running. The ship slipped away, invisible, unknown. The Council never saw it arrive. They never saw it leave. On Earth, Specialist Jin Woo sat in a dark room filled with computer screens. His team of 40 worked around him, fingers dancing across keyboards. They were inside the Council's communication network. Ghosts in the machine. Jin Woo had been a hacker before the war. The government had arrested him twice. Now they paid him to do what he did best: break into places he was not supposed to be. "I have access to military communications," one of his team reported. "Command codes for the Third Fleet. Copy everything," Jin Woo said. "Do not change anything yet. We watch. We learn." Another screen lit up. "Sir, I found the Council's strategic planning database. It contains attack plans for human colonies." Jin Woo reviewed the files. His face went cold. The Council planned to take the colonies one by one. Civilian populations would be relocated to labor camps. Resources would be seized. Humanity would be erased from the stars. "Download it all," he said quietly. In a laboratory deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Yuna watched her creation come online. She called it AIS. It was an artificial intelligence, unlike anything that had existed before. The Council used AI for simple tasks: navigation, calculation, data sorting. But they feared true artificial intelligence. They had laws against it, claiming it was too dangerous. Humanity had no such fears. Eggs connected to every human ship, every defense station, every colony. It processed millions of data points per second. It could coordinate fleet movements across light years instantly, something the Council believed impossible without their centralized relay stations. "Aegis Online," Yuna announced to the watching military commanders. All systems synchronized. Admiral Young 6 stared at the display, showing the entire human sphere of influence. Every ship, every platform, every weapon system, glowing in perfect coordination. "This changes everything," he said softly. "Yes," Yuna agreed. "The Council fights with fleets commanded by individual admirals, with messages taking minutes or hours to reach their ships. We fight as one mind, responding instantly to every situation." Meanwhile, Hun Woo and Haiwan were working a different kind of war. They contacted the 12 civilizations who had voted against humanity's expulsion. Secret meetings in neutral space, encrypted communications, careful diplomacy. The Krell were a peaceful species, tired of Council tyranny. The Novak had lost a colony to Veldran expansion decades ago, and never forgotten. The Towery were scientists who believed the Council suppressed too much knowledge. "We cannot offer military support," the Krell ambassador said during one meeting. "We do not ask for ships," Awan replied. "We ask for information, for voices, for witnesses. When this is over, the galaxy needs to know what the Council truly is." Slowly, carefully, a network formed. Not an alliance. Not yet, but the beginning of something. Then came the Battle of Deu. The fleet arrived with 150 ships. They expected an easy victory. Human colonies had minimal defenses, and Earth's ships were slow, outdated, weak. They found something very different. Admiral Young Sik commanded the defense from Indomitable. Around him, 40 human ships moved in perfect coordination, guided by Aegis. They were outnumbered nearly 4 to 1. The Velran admiral probably smiled when he saw how few ships opposed him. "All ships, weapons free," Young Sik ordered. "Execute pattern, Delta 7. The human ships moved like they were parts of a single organism. They attacked from 3 directions simultaneously, faster than the Veldran could track. New weapons tore through shields that were supposed to be impenetrable. Missiles appeared from nowhere, launched by Bo-Ra's stealth ships that the Veldran never detected. The Veldran tried to respond, but their communications were chaos. Jin Woo's cyber warfare teams had infected their network with viruses, scrambling orders, feeding false data, turning their own systems against them. In the first hour, 30 ships were destroyed. In the second hour, 40 more were crippled. The remainder tried to retreat, but human ships were faster. Only 23D vessels escaped. The battle lasted 3 hours. Human casualties, 5 ships damaged, 2 destroyed. Veldran casualties, 127 ships destroyed or captured. The galaxy watched in shock. The Council, invincible for 3 centuries, had been defeated badly. Young Sik stood on the bridge of Indomitable, looking at the debris field. He felt no joy, only grim satisfaction. "Send the recording to every planet in the galaxy," he ordered. "Let them see what happened here." Hun Woo prepared a message, not to the Council, who would not listen. To every species, every world, every being who had ever feared the Council's power. The message was simple. You wanted us silent. Now hear our silence across every star you claim. We did not start this war, but we will finish it. The message broadcast on every frequency in every language. The Council tried to block it. Jin Woo's teams ensured it got through anyway. On 1,000 worlds, people watched the Battle of Deu. They saw the mighty Veldran fleet shattered. They saw humanity, young and supposedly weak, standing victorious. The Council convened an emergency session. They demanded humanity surrender immediately. They threatened total war. They insisted this was a terrorist action, a crime against galactic peace. Humanity did not respond. There was nothing more to say. But Colonel Sangho's intelligence teams intercepted something interesting. The 12 species who had voted against humanity's expulsion were talking to each other. More species were joining those conversations. Questions were being asked. Questions about Council authority, about the truth of their power, about whether the old order needed to continue. The Council thought they were fighting one small species. They were wrong. They had awakened something much bigger. A galaxy that had been silent for too long, watching one young species refuse to be quiet. The war had just begun, and humanity was winning. The Council eliminated humanity's voice. The response ruined the stars. 18 months after the expulsion, the galaxy was burning. Not with weapons, not with ships, with truth. Specialist Jin Woo sat in his command center, surrounded by screens showing data flowing across 1,000 worlds. His fingers stopped typing. He leaned back and smiled. "It is done," he announced. "The Council archives are now public. Every secret the Council had buried for 3,000 years was now available to anyone with a computer. War crimes, suppressed technologies, species enslaved and forgotten, planets stripped of resources, lies upon lies upon lies. The data spread like fire. The Council tried to shut down networks, block transmissions, arrest anyone who shared the files. It was too late. Jin Woo's teams had embedded the information everywhere, deleted in one place. It appeared in 10 others. On the Novak homeworld, people rioted when they learned the Council had known about the Veldran plans to take their colony, and did nothing. On the tower science stations, researchers discovered the Council had been suppressing breakthrough technologies for centuries to maintain control. On 100 minor worlds, populations learned they had been paying taxes to the Council while receiving nothing in return. The Council was fracturing. Strategist Sujin watched the chaos from Earth. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. Her job was psychological operations, and she was very good at it. "The Veldran are trying to hold emergency meetings with their closest allies," she reported to Hyun Woo. "But 3 species have already withdrawn their ambassadors. The Council is arguing among themselves." "Good," Hyun Woo said. "Keep the pressure on. I want every Council member questioning why they follow the Veldran." Sujin nodded. Her teams were already working. Fake communications that looked real. Leaked recordings of Council leaders insulting their allies. Rumors carefully planted. She was turning the Council against itself, and they could not tell truth from fiction anymore. Fleet Commander Dong Hyun led the military side of the operation. He was younger than Admiral Yong Sik, aggressive and brilliant. While Yong Sik defended human space, Dong Hyun took the war to the enemy. "Operation Starfall is ready," he reported during the command meeting. "We have identified every major Council shipyard, 43 targets across Council space." Admiral Young studied the tactical display. "You want to hit them all simultaneously?" "Yes, sir. OS can coordinate the strikes perfectly. We go in, destroy the yards, leave before their fleets can respond. Without shipyards, they cannot replace their losses. The war ends. It is risky." Yong Sik said, "If any strike force gets trapped, we could lose 1/3 of our fleet." "And if we do nothing," Dong Hyun replied, "they will eventually rebuild and overwhelm us. We must break their ability to make war." Yong Sik looked at Hyun Woo. "Your call? This is your directive." Hyun Woo studied the plan. It was bold, maybe too bold, but safe strategies had never been humanity's strength. "Do it," he said. 48 hours later, human strike forces appeared at 43 locations simultaneously. Bora's stealth ships had scouted each target. Aegis coordinated every movement. The attacks were surgical and devastating. In the span of 6 hours, the Council lost every major military shipyard. Some were destroyed. Some were captured intact by human marines. Some were simply disabled, their systems wrecked beyond repair. The Council's ability to wage sustained war evaporated overnight. But humanity did not just destroy, they offered an alternative. Dr. G stood before a gathering of alien delegates on a neutral station. These were not Council leaders. These were scientists, philosophers, merchants, artists, people who wanted something better. The Council claims their technology is the most advanced. Ji-won said, "This is false. They have been stagnant for centuries. They suppressed innovation to maintain power. We offer you something different." She activated a holo display, faster than light drives, medical technologies, energy systems, communications, networks, all human innovations, all being offered freely. No patents, no trade restrictions, no demands for loyalty. We give this to you because a galaxy that innovates together grows together. The Council kept you in chains by controlling technology. We break those chains. The room was silent. Then a Tauri scientist stood up. "You would share this for nothing, for everything," G1 replied. "For a galaxy where every species has a voice, where progress is not feared but celebrated, where the strong do not crush the weak." One by one, species began to defect from the Council, not to serve humanity, to join a new alliance. Being built on different principles. Lieutenant Kite ran reconnaissance operations in Council territory. His teams made contact with resistance movements on dozens of worlds. Groups who had always opposed the Council, but lacked the means to fight. Now they had means. Human weapons, human intelligence, human support. On the throne world's third moon, slaves in the mining colonies rose up. They had been toiling for 200 years now. They had plasma rifles and secure communications. The Veldran garrison was overwhelmed in a day. On the outer rim, pirates who had hidden from Council patrol ships for decades suddenly had stealth technology. They began raiding Council supply lines with impunity. The Council was bleeding from 1,000 cuts. The Veldran Empire, desperate and cornered, made a final decision. If they could not win, they would make humanity pay the ultimate price. They deployed the Sunbreaker, a weapon so terrible the Council had banned its use 3 centuries ago. A weapon that could crack a planet's crust and boil its oceans. They aimed it at Earth. The weapon charged for 3 days. Humanity detected it immediately. Evacuation plans were drawn up, but there was no time. Earth had 8 billion people. They could not all be saved. Engineer Dawn worked without sleep in those 3 days. She had been designing planetary shields for months, but they were theoretical, untested, possibly impossible. "We have one chance," she told Admiral Young. "If the math is wrong, if I made any mistake, Earth dies. If you do nothing, Earth dies anyway." Young Sick replied, "Fire up the shields." Around Earth, 1,000 generators came online. They created a field of pure energy, wrapping the planet like a cocoon. The technology should not work. The power requirements were absurd. But Dawn had learned something from studying Council technology. Sometimes they were wrong about what was possible. The Sunbreaker fired. A beam of unimaginable power crossed space and struck Earth's shields. The planet shook. Cities felt earthquakes. Oceans surged. The sky lit up like a second sun. But the shields held more than held. Dawn had designed them with a special property. They did not just absorb energy, they reflected it. The Sunbreaker's beam bounced back, redirected by human engineering toward its source. The Veldran tried to shut down the weapon, but it was too late. The reflected energy struck the Veldran throne world's moon, the one where they had built the Sunbreaker. The moon cracked like an egg. Billions of tons of rock exploded into space. The weapon, the garrison, everything was destroyed in an instant. The Veldran Empire surrendered 3 hours later. The war was over. Humanity had won. The old Council was gone. In its place, species were gathering to build something new. Not an empire, not a hierarchy, something that had never existed in the galaxy before, a true democracy among equals. Hunwoo received a message from the former Prime Speaker. It was a simple request for peace talks. He almost deleted it. Then he remembered what Hewan had said months ago. "We are not fighting to destroy. We are fighting to change. Accept the meeting," he told his staff. "But on our terms, on neutral ground, and everyone is invited. Every species, every voice. No one gets silenced ever again." Number. The Council eliminated. Humanity's voice. The response ruined the stars. 3 years after the expulsion, Hyun-woo stood in a chamber that had never existed before. The assembly hall of the Confederated Stars was built in neutral space, far from any homeworld. It was not as grand as the old council chamber. There were no towering pillars or crystal floors. Instead, there were simple seats arranged in a circle, no higher positions, no lower ranks. Every delegate sat at the same level. 117 species had sent representatives. Some were former council members who had seen the truth. Some were new species discovered in the chaos of the war. Some had been slaves under the old system and were now free. The were there too. They sat in seats no more prominent than anyone else. Their empire was diminished, their fleet destroyed, their pride broken, but they had a voice. That was the point. Hyun-woo was not the leader of this assembly. Leadership rotated every 6 months among all member species. Right now, a tower scientist named Vex held the position. In 6 months, it would be someone else. No species would ever hold permanent power again. The assembly is called to order, Vex announced. His voice was translated instantly into 300 languages, by systems Jin Wus teams had built. We gather to ratify the founding charter of the Confederated Stars. Ambassador Haewon stood. She had aged in these 3 years. Her hair was more gray than black now, but her voice was still strong. I will read the first principle, she said. No voice shall be eliminated. No species shall be silenced. Every star has the right to be heard, and every being has the right to speak. This is not a privilege granted by the powerful. This is a right that exists for all. Around the chamber, delegates from hundreds of worlds nodded. Some had tears in their eyes. They remembered what it was like to have no voice. The charter was everything the council was not. Rotating leadership, open technology sharing, transparent communications, decentralized military defense, no permanent members, no vetoes, no species above others. Those in favor of ratification, Vex asked. Every delegate stood, all 317, even the Veldron. The charter was adopted unanimously. Dr. Mara watched from the gallery above. Next to her sat Engineer Dawn. They were part of the New Technology Council, a group tasked with ensuring innovations were shared freely among all species. We did it, Dawn whispered. We started it, Mara corrected. Now comes the hard part, making it work. She was right. The Confederated Stars faced enormous challenges. Pirates in the Outer Rim, remnants of Council loyalists causing trouble, species who distrusted each other after centuries of Council manipulation, economic systems to rebuild, trade routes to establish. But there was hope, real hope. Admiral Young had retired from active military duty. Now he commanded the Confederated Defense Network, a fleet drawn from dozens of species. They did not conquer, they protected. When pirates attacked a trade convoy, ships from 7 different species responded together. When a natural disaster struck, a colony world aid came from across the galaxy. Commander Bo Ra trained new stealth ship crews from a dozen species. The technology that had been humanity's secret weapon was now shared, not for conquest, but for exploration and protection. Dr. Yuna's AGG system had evolved. It no longer just coordinated human forces. It connected communication networks across the entire Confederacy, allowing instant translation and data sharing. Every species could talk to every other species without delay or misunderstanding. Colonel Sangho ran the Intelligence Coordination Office. His job was to identify threats before they became wars. He worked with operatives from hundreds of worlds, sharing information that the old council would have hoarded. Specialist Jin Woo led the Network Security Division. He protected the Confederacy's communications from hackers and saboteurs. Ironically, the best hacker humanity had ever produced now spent his time stopping others from doing what he once did. Dr. Ji-won's Cultural Exchange Institute had become the largest organization in the Confederacy. Schools were built on 1,000 worlds, teaching children about other species, other cultures, other ways of thinking. The goal was simple. You cannot hate what you understand. Strategist Sujin had changed careers entirely. She now worked in conflict resolution, using her understanding of psychology to help species settle disputes without violence. She was very good at it. Fleet Commander Dong Hyun commanded the Explorer Corps, seeking out new species to invite into the Confederacy. Not to conquer them, to welcome them. Lieutenant Kite worked with the Freedom Network, helping species still trapped under authoritarian governments. The Confederacy did not invade to liberate, but they provided support to those fighting for their own freedom. The work was never ending, but it was good work. In his private quarters on the assembly station, Hyun-woo met with Taemin. His old communications officer was now head of Confederacy intelligence. He brought worrying news. There are remnants of the old council gathering in the Outer Rim, Taemin reported. Die-hard loyalists who want to restore the old order. They are few but dangerous. Can we stop them? Hyun-woo asked. We are monitoring them. When they move, we will be ready. Hyun-woo nodded. He had expected this. The old guard never surrendered easily. And the other matter? He asked. Taemin's expression grew more serious. Long-range scouts have detected something beyond explored space. Signals that do not match any known species. Could be natural phenomena. Could be something else. Something hostile. Unknown. The Explorer Corps is investigating. Hyun-woo looked out the viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there were new threats, new challenges. The galaxy was vast, and humanity had only scratched the surface. But they were not alone anymore. Whatever came next, hundreds of species would face it together. Later that evening, Hee-won joined him at the viewport. They stood in comfortable silence, watching ships from 100 worlds come and go. Do you think they learned? Hee-won asked finally. Hyun-woo considered the question. Below them in the assembly hall, representatives from across the galaxy were still meeting, debating, arguing sometimes, but talking, always talking. The learned what happens when you silence those who refuse to be quiet, he said. But more importantly, we taught everyone something better, that the stars belong to everyone, not just those who shout the loudest, and not just those who are silent. Hye-won added. No, Hyun-woo agreed. Silence was our weapon, when we had no other choice but this. He gestured to the assembly station, to the ships, to the delegates, still working through the night. This is better. This is what we were fighting for. A message alert chimed. New species discovered in the Andromeda sector. First contact protocols initiated. The Explorer Corps was requesting diplomatic support. Hyun-woo smiled. Duty calls. It always does, Hye-won said, but she was smiling too. They left the viewport and returned to work. There would always be more work, more species to welcome, more problems to solve, more challenges to face. 3 years ago, the Council had eliminated humanity's voice. They thought it would make humanity disappear. Instead, it started a revolution that changed the galaxy forever. The old Council was gone, shattered by its own arrogance. In its place stood something new, something better. A confederation where every voice mattered, where innovation was celebrated, not feared, where the strong helped the weak instead of crushing them. The response had not just ruined the stars. It had rebuilt them into something far greater than anyone had imagined. And in the assembly hall below, representatives from 317 species continued their work, arguing, debating, compromising, agreeing, using their voices, every single one of them, because now finally everyone could be heard.